Today's episode is about a thief, not the kind that breaks into your house, not the kind that steals your wallet. This thief is actually much smarter because it takes something that is much more valuable. It doesn't take it all at once, but instead it steals it one day at a time. And the strange thing is, most people don't even know that they're actually being robbed. In fact, they willingly hand this thief exactly what they want every single day. Because you see, most people believe that the biggest obstacle in life is the lack of talent, maybe the lack of resources or the lack of opportunity. But in reality, the thing that is holding them back the most is much more dangerous. It's the belief that there's still plenty of time left. Because while they're waiting for that perfect moment, their goals are waiting, their relationships are waiting, the health is waiting, lack of opportunity. The future is waiting, the clock never waits. So today, we are going to be talking about urgency, not the panic and the stress or the chaotic kind, but the kind that you learn to develop the ability to act before life comes and forces you to act. Because the people who move forward the fastest aren't actually the smartest people in the room most of the time. They're the ones who make a decision and then they immediately take action. But before we get into this episode, if you're a fan of honest conversations around success and transformation, the kind that aren't polished, that aren't comfortable, and they have really nobody's watching, well, you're in the right place. Because here at Habitual Growth, we talk real people, we talk real experiences, and most importantly, we talk real growth that helps you move forward. And of course, do us a favor. Please hit the like and subscribe button. They help us out tremendously. They help us bring bigger people onto our podcast and talk about the things that impact you the most. So with that, let's get into today's growth episode.
Good to see you, Lisa. Bringing the sense of humor today. So hopefully that means you slept a little bit. But picking up on what we were talking about last time, obviously we're still under the umbrella topic of systems. You brought one to the table last week, which I thought was really, really, really useful. So if people haven't listened to that one, you need to go back and listen to really thinking through systems, applying them to your life. We've got another good topic revolving around systems today. And this one is hitting me because as Lisa and I were kind of talking about things offline, both of us are juggling what we feel is an extraordinary amount of just like balls in the air, trying to move everything forward, whether that's relationships, professional, financial. I think we're doing it semi-professionally and, with a smile on our faces. But where this really becomes important is we've been able to move things forward, I would say, quickly. And that is something over the last maybe 2 years, I feel like I've seen massive changes from you in particular, about creating a sense of urgency. And when you lack systems, I think it's really easy to just go back to your old habits like we talked about last time, right? It's easy to just live in the comfort zone, as Andy Frisella would say. But creating a sense of urgency is something that I have found extremely valuable in my own personal life. And I actually have a completely different perspective on urgency than I used to. I used to kind of kick the can down the road. I would say, I'm tired, I got to get my rest. I got to do these things. And while, some of that might be true, it just didn't move things forward at a rate that, being in my 40s now, I realize like there's, you're getting up there. There's not a lot of time left to do things professionally, to start a new career, to start a business, things like that. Can it be done? Of course, but time is extremely valuable. And I just have hit this point in my life now where everything seems to want to slow us down and I want to keep pushing forward. And I've used systems to really develop a sense of urgency across everything that I'm doing. How is that working for you? Do you get the same sense in what you're juggling?
Yes. It was funny. I was actually training earlier today and I was talking to my trainer about the ability for people to make decisions and just take action and then commit to something. Because we were having a conversation about signing up for another High Rocks. And I was like, he's like, how did you just make? I was like, I just had to do it. Like, I'll figure it out. I don't know how I'm going to get there. You build the systems behind it to reach whatever goal you have. But it floated into a conversation where he was like, I've noticed that in my own life. The longer I think about something and don't actually commit to doing it, the more time it gives me to find excuses, which if you don't have the systems in place that help you drive from action or from urgency to action, that's where people get lost, because then you kind of flounder in this area of finding an excuse to keep kicking down the road. But people that have built systems that give them a sense of urgency that ultimately gets them to take action sooner, kind of reinforce that behavior, number one. But number two, start to move at a faster pace than, let's call them, all of their peers. because they take action knowing that the systems are in place to allow them to be successful.
Yeah, and you said a lot of things in there that are really powerful. And we've talked about using systems to stay motivated, to kind of break the cycle of again getting back to where you used to be, fighting your own identity, or who you're trying to be, setting goals, things like that. But as I was kind of thinking about this, for me, it almost started with paying attention to the details, right? It was like I was, taking, you've heard me complain, taking the trash all the way out to the trash can, or the recycling all the way out to the trash can, right? Last night I'm out in the garden, and it sounds silly, but there was a plant that was kind of like leaning over, and I was like, I'll just get that tomorrow. And I was like, no, I need to do it now. I need to get out of that cycle. Number one, it's the backlog of like what is taking up mental space for you. Like something like that bothers me. It might not bother a lot of people, but it bothers me. Like I want to fix it at some point. I know I'm going to have to fix it. I'm going to have to deal with it. So the sooner you can actually deal with it, you force yourself into action, the less mind share it takes up and the more you can move on to something else. And the second thing that it does is it improves that productivity that I know we've already talked about with systems as well. But this is how you end up juggling a lot more things, is because you spend less time thinking, you spend a very short amount of time deciding. And it doesn't mean you're making flippant decisions. It doesn't mean you're just not considering the facts. If you need 24 hours, that's great. If you need a week for some things like that, that's great. We're looking at painting our house, right? I've got a couple of quotes out, but like I kind of already know the decisions that I'm going to make. And so like if I can do that faster, then I don't have to think about it again. I can move on to something that's, a greater piece of the pie. And so, using systems like we have set up with the app where we're putting something in every single day. If I know a tough conversation is going to be, it needs to be had, right? I'm going to put that on my list. So I have to deal with it. So I almost use my systems as a way to force myself to make decisions
Mhm.
faster, if that makes sense. Because in doing that, one, I'm not going to be defeated by the day. So I'm going to go out and conquer the day, which means anything on that list I have to deal with. So I already know that from an integrity standpoint and a commitment standpoint. But number two, I can't keep kicking the can down the road, which is something, if you are a person, as an example, that fights procrastination, this is where
Yeah,
systems become really,
really
really
come.
important,
Yeah,
because you're not going to procrastinate if you are a person that delivers on what you've said. Use your systems effectively to say, okay, I can't run from this anymore. I don't know what's going to happen. Everything is figure outable, like we talked about a couple of sessions ago,
yeah.
right? Figure it out, but take the action to move yourself forward so that you build that momentum and you have a sense of urgency.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to just maybe touch for everyone listening on why having a sense of urgency is so important. And again, I'll go back to the gym. It must be where I do all my good thinking. I was running my sprints, and I was thinking about why I push so hard in every area of life. Some can call it a fatal flaw, you can call it just an element of character trait, but there is a sense of responsibility that I feel to create action in an urgent manner, that anyone that comes in contact with me learns something new or has the opportunity to see something done in a way that wasn't before. And I feel a responsibility to lead from the front. And I was thinking about, if I just stopped doing what I'm doing and I went back to make it up, it's terrible, but just walking around the block every day for whatever, think about how many people may not have had the opportunity to see what a difficult workout looks like, or my kids who maybe would never have seen a parent compete at a fitness competition level, or same thing in my professional life. So I think about urgency through the lens of responsibility to lead to the best capability. And then I think about, what systems do I have to have in place that allow me to take action on that urgency and be as productive as possible to keep moving forward.
Yeah, and I'm glad you actually went down that thread, because that was something that I want to touch on as well. And I would say the word lead, at least to me, can sometimes be misinterpreted, right? You've got a family, you've got a team you're leading at. For those that may not have those things, maybe you're just somebody that's starting out, you're still leading yourself, right? If you look around what's happening in society today, and our culture, specifically here in the United States, and how I think it's really easy to complain and just not take accountability. This is a way where your systems, to force that urgency, you do it with intention, right? One of our mottos is live with intent. That means you are actually taking responsibility for your life. You can't sit back and procrastinate and not make the moves necessary and then be like, well, I don't like my job, or I wish I was in a relationship, but I don't have one, or I wish, I don't have any friends, or, I'm overweight and I'm not in shape, but you're not doing anything about it. Like at some point, you're going to have to realize this is where the hard conversation comes in, the responsibility with yourself. And a system can, when it's done right and put in place, can help you start to get moving on that. Obviously, it carries the momentum. The hardest part is getting started, as we know, but this is where systems become extremely important because you set that goal and then you say, okay, well, I'm not going to deviate from this. It's not going to be easy. And maybe it is just a walk around the block for 3 or 4 weeks because that's what you could do, but you're getting yourself outside. You're doing it with intent. I'm going to get shape. I'm going to get, vitamin D. I'm going to get some sunlight, whatever it is, versus I'm going to wait until tomorrow because my new Netflix show just launched. I want to watch it for 4 or 5 hours, which is a common thing that a lot of people do. And so systems and having a sense of urgency, I think really forces people to look internal. It really makes you look at what things are important to you. You can decide I don't have time to make a meal and I just want something super easy and convenient that I'm going to spend money, but then I'm also struggling over here to save money, but you're not tackling the root cause of the issue. And for me, a lot of that sense of urgency is forced through systems to be able to deal with those tough conversations, those root cause issues that we sometimes gloss over because we continue to kick the can down the road.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. People might hear the word urgency and go, well, why do I have to be urgent about everything? And it's not urgent in the sense of it's a fire drill or there's something burning down, but recognizing that when you live with intent, you view the place that you're at today as something that's never going to occur again. Today will never occur in the same capacity that it does. And so you are constantly fighting a clock to make the most out of every day, whether that's leading yourself, whether that's taking steps to achieve a goal, to creating a new habit, to spending time in gratitude, whatever it is that you're trying to do. It's taking the gift that you've been given today and framing it and using it to the greatest capacity possible and doing that day after day after day after day.
Yeah. And I just on that point, I think you and I are both at this age where we've realized like time is fleeting. When you're in your 20s and even in your 30s, it does seem like why do I have to live life with urgency? And you don't. Like it is your choice. But if you want to have the most fulfilling life possible for yourself, that probably means for the most part, you're having to set up some sort of structure. You need a financial situation. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe you want to live somewhere specific. Maybe you want to have a certain type of career. I don't know, whatever that's right for you. But at least for me, and I can speak for Lisa on this one as well, at some point you start to realize like, I don't have many more redos, right?
Yeah.
Andy used to talk about this all the time, and it never made sense to me until probably 4 or 5 years ago when it's like, wow, I've got 3 little kids. I'm in my mid 40s now. I really can't start a career again. I mean,
Right.
I
Yeah.
can, but I don't want to be working until I'm in my mid 70s, right? So I've got to be doing certain things now to set things up. It's actually how habitual growth was born. We were not happy with our situation and said, let's put a system, let's put a platform in place that holds us accountable, that moves us forward because we're not satisfied with where we're at. So we're going to do whatever it takes to get to that next place. And I would just encourage anybody who is thinking, I'm fine with where I'm at. Think about what the word fine means to you. Are you fulfilled? Are you really happy? Or is there something deep down that you're wanting to go accomplish? Because if that's the case, at some point, you can't go back in time. You're going to have to realize you're going to have to face whether or not that becomes a reality. And the sooner you can get there with a sense of urgency, the more you're going to realize, wow, I probably should have done this a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's actually a great way to end for people. And, if you have questions about the systems that Nate and I have in place, obviously we use Habitual Growth app, but there are also systems, that we have each on our own that help us build that sense of urgency and to take intentional action every single day. And we're happy to share at any point.
Absolutely. Love it. All right, Lise, good to have you back. We will see you
You
soon.
know it. All
All
right.
right.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Bye.